I just loved him as a man, as a human being, as an innocent man.
A normal man.
It's just a normal man.
Stefan Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
It's Naby Sarr's world and we're just living in it. Welcome to the warm-up, episode 70. Joining me, your host, Brady Frost, is Tom Bradshaw, and we're joined by Stephen Chicken today. How are you both?
Good, thank you.
How you doing, Brady? You all right?
I'm good, Tom. I'm good. Steve gave me a little wave there. You didn't? You're just sick of the sight of me now?
I do little nods. That's how I speak to people, mate.
Right.
Just a nice little nod. There you go.
Okay, nice. That's a little nod for us to move on, which I will do. Let's talk about Barnsley. Because the Tykes are bottom of the table in 24th. They've picked just 6 wins of the 42 games this season. The last 10 matches, they have actually won 2, but interestingly, 4 draws in that time. A little bit of a pick up in form, but it has been a dreadful season for them, I think it's fair to say. They lost to Peterborough on Monday, which leaves them 11 points adrift of 4th from bottom Reading, and they can only get a maximum of 12 points. So in this one, anything else, if they don't get a win in this one, they're relegated. So if Town draw or Town beat them, they are saying hello to League One. Tom, it'll be sad if Barnsley get relegated, though, given the fun we had with them 2-2 draw back in 2013, John Smith Stadium, at Peterborough's expense. Will you be sad to see them go if they get relegated?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it's always good to have as many like local derbies as well in it as possible. But I'll never forget that day. What a beautiful moment that was to share in the joy of seeing Peterborough get relegated. But Peterborough got a bit of revenge, didn't they? I guess they've almost put the nail in the coffin. It'd be a miracle if somehow they stayed up now. So, yeah, be interesting work, Brady. Bit interesting record against them recently, though. We've only had 1 win in all 5 competitions against them recently. So,
all
you
5?
never know. Yeah. In all 5 competitions.
Are there 5 competitions?
No, sorry. In 1 win in 5 in all comps.
competitions.
Yeah, I just put my words jumbled up there. Sorry, lads.
No, I was hoping you'd made a new competition that you decided that Huddersfield and Barnsley can only play in. Okay, yeah, you touched on it there, actually. That was in my notes. You must be reading my notes, Tom. You're not here, are you? There is only 1 win in 5, which was obviously the FA Cup victory back in February. Steve, I think we've talked when you've been on here before about head-to-heads and whether it really matters, but Carlos obviously got his first win against Barnsley earlier in February. Do you think that's going to be a good influence on the game going into this, or does it not really make a difference?
I think in these specific circumstances, it doesn't matter because it is literally the opposite of that final day game, isn't it? Where, both of them got a mutual result to stay up. And on this time, there is no mutual result. One's going to go up one's going to get relegated or one's going to secure a playoff spot. So, yeah, it's an interesting game in a way, but more about like mentality wise for Town, I think, because Carlos Gordran is really, really trying to stress they are all but in the playoffs. They do need 1 more win, or for Millwall to drop any points and Blackburn and Middlesbrough to lose a game. But you would think over the 10 games that the 3 teams have between them, that one of those things is going to happen. So, I think it's pretty much nailed on. But he said that he wants his players to keep the mentality, that they want to keep going for it, that they want to finish as high as they can. We've sort of made a decision at the Examiner not to talk about second place, really, because I think that's gone, and it's only if Bournemouth absolutely fall off a cliff that we're going to even consider bringing that back up, because they've got 2 games in hand, 4 points clear, massive goal difference. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think Brad and the coaching staff can still use that. Look, it is football. Carlos said on Monday he doesn't believe in mathematics in football, and I think that will apply to that very, very, very faint hope of finishing second. And he'll be saying, look, you never know what's going to happen over the final 5 games. So let's go for it and keep pushing for second. So I think Town will come out and be professional and look to get the job done against a team that, let's be honest, they should be beating. Barnsley have only won one away game all season. They've got a really poor record. They're really struggling. There's a reason they're at the bottom of the table. So,
yeah, absolutely. And Steve, were you a bit upset when he said about no mathematics in football? You know, being a former accountant and going into the world of football.
I think he has to say that though, doesn't he? Because you can't have players sort of coasting, even if you know they were already mathematically certain of a playoff place and second was out the equation and they couldn't get caught from seventh, which may well be the case after this game. You still want your players to be giving their all. They still need to keep the momentum, keep their fitness, keep their levels, because you're preparing for a playoff campaign. So I think he has to say that, to be fair, doesn't he?
Yeah. And Tom, how are you feeling about it? Obviously, a fan like myself. Do you think this is a pretty much of a, as games go, it's probably one of the easiest. Famous last words, though.
Yeah, I don't think you should. It's so difficult, isn't it? Because it does get to that point where if a team goes down, they can almost flick a switch where they kind of just play with a bit of freedom, no fear. They're in big trouble. I was I had a read of the Barnsley Chronicle and what they thought of the loss to Peterborough, and blooming X, one of the most depressing reads I've had in a while. They were absolutely slating them. So it's kind of a mixture of that as well. They've got to show something. Surely they want to at least show the fans, if they care, they need to pull the fingers out and do something on Friday. So I don't think you can go into it thinking, oh, it's going to be a walkover. But like Steve just touched on, one win away all season, that you've got to be confident that you're going to get the 3 points. But I don't think it's going to be super easy going.
No, I think that's a good point. And you'd mentioned it might not be the easiest. They've got a few, despite where they are at the bottom of the table, there is a couple of players that can catch the eye. Who did you pick, Tom, as the key player for Barnsley?
Well, I've got 3 written down. I didn't know if I was going to go first or not, so I thought I'd have a couple of buffers, Brady. But
well, there you go, mate. Pick your favourite.
I'll pick one of them then. I've gone for I'll go with Carlton Morris as mine then. I think he's had a decent return this season. It's like 9 goals in 27 games, which isn't too bad considering kind of the form that the team's been in, the squad he's been in this season. He knows where the net is. I think obviously if he gets a sniff, he might have a chance. The goal he scored against Reading the other week was an example of that. He just kind of picked it up on the edge of the right of the box and found the bottom left corner out of nothing really. So I think as long as you maybe stay tight to him, don't give him any space, because that seems to where he thrives when he gets that kind of space in and around the box, and he's going to take a shot. So stop him from doing that. He's not going to score. And then he's their top scorer, 9 goals, and no one else really comes that close to him either, I don't think. So, yeah, keep him quiet. They're not really going to score.
Yeah, and whenever I don't watch Barnsley much, but he just never seems to stop running for me, which is, interesting. Could we, I'd be intrigued if Carlos likes his players never run. Maybe it could... there we go. I've given you a transfer rumor there, Steve. Go, you can, if you need to fill some column inches. I'll shut up though. Who did you pick as a keeper, Steve?
I've got Amin Bassi, who surely must be known as Shirley on the Barnsley training ground. Obviously, Barnsley have had an awful season, but we don't really need to go on about that. But, Bassi has come into the squad from France in January. And he's got 2 goals and 5 assists, and he's picked up those 5 assists sort of once every other game over the past few. So he's, if he's on a timetable there, then he should get an assist against Town. Really, he also got 2 goals against Middlesbrough. He's been, a big key player for them. I seem to recall he did all right against Town in the FA Cup as well, and looked dangerous. He's an attacking midfielder. He can play sort of across a front 3 as well. So yeah, he's the one to look out for. But I think if you cut out the service to him, or rather, sorry, I should say, if you stop him from supplying the service, it's hard to see where the creativity comes from in this Barnsley team, to be honest.
Yeah, I also picked him because there's a Barnsley fan at my work who does call him Shirley.
There you go.
So there you go.
Can't be serious.
Exactly. I'm flown. You've flown me off my script there. Anyway, little airplane reference. So, yeah, I picked him as well. I've gone off. I think you can tell that this pod is going because we're all a little bit distracted because we're all feeling well. But yeah, I picked him. Good player. Again, another player I'd like Town to see, but who knows? Town key player. I think this is an interesting one because they made four changes against Borough, obviously. I think there's a debate when Dave was on here last. For the last pod, we talked about, do you rest players, if it's all but confirmed for the playoffs, or do you keep momentum going? I think you've had a similar conversation on the Utabia today, Steve. So I'm not sure who to pick, but I think I would start Josh Koroma in this. I think he played well in spells against Middlesbrough, and I think he deserves another crack from the start. And, we talk about playing strong 11s. I think you don't have to suddenly make 7 changes. I think we can make a couple, especially with waiting for news on Sorba. I think Koroma maybe playing him into form, especially if the playoffs are coming up. Still saying if. Don't want to jinx it. Steve, who have you picked as a Town key player?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anyone, but I'll go for the obvious one, which is Lewis O'Brien, who has a good record against Barnsley. When they played him earlier this season at their place at Oakwell, he was easily the best player. Town had a really poor day, and he had a brilliant day. He was really sharp, absolutely at it. But he scored a couple of really nice goals against Barnsley as well. And sort of the one criticism you might have of Lewis O'Brien, and I'm saying this just after he's made an assist, but his goal and assist numbers are not incredible for a central midfielder. But he seems to be able to find the net against Barnsley. He seems to like playing them. So yeah, Lewis for me.
Nice. Obviously scored that famous angry goal against them. Was it a couple of seasons back as well?
Yeah.
Where's that rank, Steve? Because I love an angry goal, but your categories, I think.
Yeah, that finish was brilliant from the edge of the box. And yeah, I remember that was a really poor day for Town and everyone was very down. And he came out afterwards and it was basically the only player who they could get to talk to us. And yeah, he said after that, I don't really score tap-ins. So, which I think we've seen. So yeah, a pretty typical Lewis O'Brien finish that, but that was a lovely goal. Yeah, did it win? I think it might have won goal of the season for Town that season as well, and it certainly won goal of the month in the championship that month.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember we did our own goal of the season. I can't remember who won. Matt, no. Tom, who did you select as a key player for Town in this one?
Well, I did have Koroma originally, and then O'Brien as my backup. So then,
have you got a third backup for this?
I'll go for Dwayne Holmes because I think he'll get a start maybe on Friday night. He caused them a lot of problems in FA Cup as well. Dwayne's good. I think he's had a great season, and I think a lot of people were a bit questioned why he came back. He didn't really settle in straight away, but I think this season he's been really solid. And I think if you don't have Sorba on, Dwayne is someone who is going to run at players, maybe not be worried to try and take a shot from 30 yards out as well. He loves that now and again, doesn't he? So yeah, let's have a good Dwayne Holmes performance on Friday night.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. I think we talked about a lot this season, but you're absolutely right, Tom. He's come on leaps and bounds, hasn't he, this season? You can see how he's fitting. And again, we've talked about this before with players, like just maybe give him a bit more time, especially with Carlos and his methods and how meticulous he is. So that is a really good shout. But yeah, we'll hear from from a Barnsley fan now. So because it's time for View from the Other Side. So I caught up with Carlo van der Watering from the Barnsley fan podcast Reds Report ahead of the game, and here's what he had to say.
We've lost to a pub side. We've literally lost to a pub side.
Hi Carlo, thanks for joining me. So I appreciate it's difficult to sum up the season, but did you expect it to pan out as it has following the departure of Valérien Ismaël and Alex Mowat at the start of the season?
I don't think many Barnsley fans would have expected the season to go as we did. Of course, losing Mowat DK, with the impact he had at the end of last season, and of course Villiers and Ismail all leaving. Listen, we never thought we'd get back to the playoffs, but we thought we had a team that would be comfortably able of reaching sort of like a mid-table place at the end of the season, and it's just not worked out. And it could point your finger in many different directions. For me as a fan, the board decided that the style that Barnsley played wasn't right. It wasn't successful. It might be successful on the pitch and reaching the playoffs, but apparently there were no bids for players, and therefore they imposed a different style of play. The appointment of Marcus Shop, which was dreadful. You could argue that the follow-up appointment of Poya Asbaghi has not been very successful either. Barnsley lack identity, low on confidence, they're lacking leadership. And during the summer, the signings of 2 strikers from Belgium. One's already back in Belgium on loan at a second division club. The other one failed to make any impact whatsoever. So on many different levels, fingers can be pointed. Not the season we wanted. And I reckon the inevitable will happen on Friday night after we face Huddersfield, where we'll have an R for relegated next to our name in the table.
And how are you feeling about the game on Friday, and if relegation is confirmed?
Hey, it's mixed feelings. Nobody wants to be relegated. You especially don't want to be relegated when you play a Yorkshire rival. But you know what? Credit to Huddersfield. They've been silently going about their business and obviously well placed at the moment. It's really strange. Barnsley have played better against better playing teams this season. There's no doubt about it. Fulham, Bournemouth. So the problem with Barnsley is the finishing. We had plenty of chances to get goals on Monday against Peterborough, but they're so low on confidence and options that it's just not working for us. And if Huddersfield strike first, confidence is at an all-time low as well, so that will impact them. So many people have pointed at the midfield as where Barnsley have lost it. The defence, in fairness, of course, we're bottom of the league, but Halleck, Anderson, although Halleck's out at the moment, they've done okay. Collins injured in goals for Jack Walton, ex-Huddersfield boy, isn't he? He's back in goal, but it's the midfield. If you take hold of the midfield, you can put pressure on Barnsley, and many teams opt for the long ball behind the Barnsley back line to try and get to Walton's goal. So yeah, I expect it to be this match to be played out in midfield, and in all fairness, with Huddersfield coming out on top.
Finally, where do you expect the game to be won or lost from Barnsley's perspective?
If relegation is confirmed on Friday, listen, it's what we deserved. The table doesn't lie, and Barnsley fans can say we're capable of better. We might be, but we just haven't produced it. We had that little spell, middle of February into early March, where we started winning some matches and people thinking, it could be on. But it's just been followed up by too many matches where we scored first. I think we've lost 12 points this season where we've conceded in the last 10 or 15 minutes. And overall, there needs to be an overhaul of players. We need leaders back on the pitch. And I think the summer needs to be used to build a team ready for League One. You hope that the likes of Morris can stay, but you can't really deny him a move to another championship team because that lad runs his blood to water every single match. So it's the inevitable. We can't get out of this, and people can say, but Reading could lose. No, we're not good enough at the moment to score goals and win matches. And if you can't do that over a season, then you get relegated. So yeah, I would reckon it will happen on Friday. Derby and Barnsley are down, and then it's the last few matches of the season to decide whether it's Peterborough or Reading that join the Reds in League One.
Okay, so we heard from Carlo, pretty downbeat as you could imagine, but love his name. He's my favourite name of all the podcast people we speak to, Carlo van der Watering.
Great name.
Absolutely great name. But, Tom, let's return to the match, shall we?
All right, then.
The enthusiasm for this feature just gets stronger and stronger every week, doesn't it?
Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. De Poiter's got the better. Yeah! And Laurent De Poitre scored! What a goal, Aaron Moy! An absolute thunderbolt delivered all the way from Australia.
Return to the match.
Steve, every time you come on here, you criticise this section. We did it when we were rubbish. Do you remember? We didn't. Sorry, that was a bit Bernard Money. Do you remember?
I remember.
Like an aggressive Peter Kay.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, do you remember taking the top 40? No, we did this, Steve. It's I don't want to bring up the second half last season, but do you remember we didn't win any games for ages?
I remember that.
So we're trying to give some positivity. Go on then. Who've you picked, Steve?
Yeah, you touched on it earlier. Sorba Thomas, we're not sure if he's going to be fit. We're recording this before we've got the team news update from Carlos Corberán, which will be on Thursday afternoon, examinerlive.co.uk for your live blog there. And using your
plug on here.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Plug on your own. I'm cutting that out.
So I think you need a right winger there, because no one sort of leaps out, do they? I mean, you can play Tanel Sinani there, but if you're playing a front three or a four, well, whatever formation you play, really, you need a winger, don't you? That's how it works, unless it's a 3-5-2. So I'm gone for Gary Roberts. Obviously, very popular figure at Huddersfield Town, could play in a variety of positions. Player of the season at one point as well, was there for 4 seasons, helped them get up into the Championship in 2012, and quite harshly didn't get a contract to go with them into the Championship, which, for him to keep going knowing he wasn't going to be at the club the following season, I think sort of speaks volumes about why fans loved him so much. His goal and assist record was excellent for the position he played, and I don't think I've ever won one, because I always pick someone stupid when I come on this podcast. So I've gone for someone who I think might actually stand a chance of winning the poll this time.
Nice. I think I remember there was one where you picked when you were on here, which was Camille Grabara, which you only
for sentimental reasons. I nearly did a piece about him the other day, because he had, I think, 7 clean sheets in a row playing for Copenhagen. And
really?
it was getting to the point where it's like, oh, this is actually quite notable, and then they lost 3-1. So ruining my job there anyway. Well,
again, I think we've talked about this before. Don't think he had as bad a season as some people made out.
No, he was very young when he was there. I talked about it with Matt the other day, actually, and it's maybe 18 months too soon for him. But he, eminently forgettable Huddersfield Town goalkeeper Camille Grabara.
There we go. Tom, your return to the Mac choice, is it more Camille Grabara or is it more Gary Roberts?
It's more Gary Roberts, but let me take you back to like 2004, those years, 2004, 2005, 2006. A little man with long brown hair and little white boots running up and down the right wing. Chris Brandon, what a player. Most memorable moment was he was part of the famous corner routine where they did the little tap, pretend they were switching over players, and then he took the ball, ran in, slotted it across. Maybe Carlos could have a look at that. Maybe that's actually my return to the Mac, the corner routine that surely everyone in football's forgot about by now, and you could bring it back and fool Barnsley on Friday night with it.
A bit of a Trent Alexander-Arnold, was it?
Yeah, a little bit. But it was more, I think Chris Brandon, someone pretended to take it, like tapped it the tiniest bit.
Yeah.
Called Chris Brandon over, and then Chris Brandon ran into the box with the ball and pulled it back, and we scored.
Yeah, why not? I mean, what Town have got the most goals from set pieces this season in the league, so they can mix it up.
There we go.
Great shout. Yeah, no, two strong contenders there. I've gone for, because we touched on the 2-2 draw back in 2013. Who got the equaliser that day, Tom? It was James Vaughan, wasn't it?
Vaughan.
Yeah. Reason I picked him as well, I just don't know what the situation with Ward is yet, because there's team news. I think it was on Thursday afternoon. It's on some website that Steve writes for. You'll find out. But if Wardy can't play in this one, Rhodes had a great game against Borough on Monday.
Yeah, he did. He was brilliant.
But I just think, again, maybe play.
But not good
4-4.
enough for you, Brady, obviously.
No, I'm thinking Rhodes and Vaughan together. I'd like to see it. Hey, we've also, I know I've had my well, I haven't criticised Rhodes. I just think he's a different player to Wardy, and we've pointed that out. But he had a great game, absolutely great game on Monday. And I loved how obvious it was that he was bending his run. He was doing like the proper arms flailing out, like pass to me for his goal. But great pass from O'Brien, well taken. So James Vaughan alongside Rhodes for me in my return to in this hypothetical scenario. Anyway, let's move on because it's time for You're the Boss. Previously when we've been doing well, don't really have to talk about this, but I suppose this is the interesting one, isn't it? Because it's whether we make a few changes for this one. Steve, would you make any changes from game on Monday?
I think even if Sorba's fit, it's time. He's played in every single game this season. He's the only player who has, and he's been playing for Wales as well. So I think you could probably afford to leave him out, even if he is fit. Maybe give him 15 minutes at the end. But we talked about Onu to be a Terriers. You've alluded to about how do you approach these next 3 games? Do you stick or twist? Do you give a few players a few chances? And sort of the conclusion we came to was you maybe make 2 or 3 changes for each game and have a look at, because, I don't think either of us would have said consider Naby Sarr or Jordan Rhodes for the playoffs, but then you saw how they played against Middlesbrough and you think actually they could do a job. So I'd be interested if Danny Ward is fit to see him and Rhodes play together and see if that works. But I wouldn't make loads of changes. I like the idea of playing Karoma, as you say. I think he's probably the one who you can look to play maybe even all 3 games, 2 or 3 games, and see how he gets on, because he looks like he's trying a bit too hard at the moment. He could do with a goal or 2 just to relax into his finishing, because he just looks a bit, like he's not playing naturally this season, let alone lately. So yeah, I'm not sure who I'd put in, but that would be sort of my approach, would just be 2 or 3 changes, maybe have a look at 1 or 2 players like Josh Karoma, maybe even, if Tino Antrim is at all ready to start, even if you can only play him for 60 minutes, see what he can do from the start rather than coming on late on in a game when, he's unlikely to make an impact.
Yeah, I like the Tino shout as well. I think we, to be fair to him, he's not started yet, has he? I know that's a fitness reason, but he has looked quite leggy.
I do get the sort of the criticism and the disappointment because he hasn't done anything since the ride. But obviously he's just very simply not been fit. And I think there is still time for him to make an impact. But we've been saying that since the day he signed. So I do get where sort of fans being a bit down in the mouth about him comes from. But I would say sort of give him a chance, I think.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I think we probably hyped him up as much. I think we talked about this, Tom, but I spoke to that Chelsea youth player and academy account, and they were like, he's the best talent we've ever produced. So I think we're all maybe guilty of hyping him, but he's a young player, and I think you've said this before, Steve, but like Lone Stoke, they don't always work out for the club. It's about getting experience, and but like I say, he's been injured, so you can't really judge.
Yeah, no.
Tom, any interesting changes from you for this one?
Not really. I think you're going to see a different formation, aren't you?
Yeah.
Than to Borough. It's going to be a bit more attacking. So you're going to lose probably. I'm going to say Turton or Pippa might be put on the bench for that, and then you get an extra man in up the field. So, like Steve said, if Danny Ward's fit, it might be really interesting to see that 2 up top, Rhodes and Ward. See how they go, because it feels like a game that. It'd be nice to see them have a go at, because that bit of experience, they're both, I won't say they're bullies, but they get stuck in, put the body about. I think be quite effective against this Barnsley team, who, when you look at who they were playing last week, they couldn't even score against the team that's conceded 83 goals this season. So, like, come on. Yeah, I definitely don't be thinking play, but it's interesting, isn't it? I don't think most of the players in this squad, I don't think you're bringing anyone in and worrying about it. We've had that discussion, haven't we? We've got a really good, solid, deep squad this season.
I can't think of many team sheets that have come out where you've gone, what's he doing there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think the thing with Barnsley, I think you do have to sort of go for it as well, because for all their bottom of the table, and their defensive record obviously can't be great when you're bottom of the table, but they're not a team like Peterborough or Reading who regularly get absolutely humped, 3 or 4 goals. They have a lot of sort of 1-goal defeats. They have the occasional one, but they've their issues are more in attack than they are in defence, and obviously the two have an impact on each other. But they can be hard to break down at times, as Town found in both games earlier this season. So I think you do need to sort of try and play on the front foot and try and blitz them as much as you can, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I'm thinking with this lineup. Go a bit more attacking. So I'd keep Pippa in for this one. I know he's still kind of coming back from an injury, but he is more attacking than Turton. Although Turton, great cross for Tom against QPR. The one I'm thinking, I know we've talked about this a lot, Steve. I'd give Eiting a go just to see what he'd do, because when he did play against Forest in the FA Cup, it was, I don't want to say the second team, but it wasn't Town's strongest 11. So maybe put him in. I think. Do you need Hogg for this? I think that's a question. But then again, it's like
it's a bit of a. I think it is. I think it is a bit of a hoggy game, Barnsley, because they are, for all their faults, and their lack of quality, they are quite hard working. I think it is a bit of a hog game, in truth. Yeah, but. I don't think Eiting would be sort of top of my list of players I want to see bring in, because I think they've done fine without him, in truth. And I think it's hard to see him getting in ahead of John Russell in the same way that for those wide positions, or positions where you have the option to go to up top, say with Rhodes, you've got players to look at, because those shirts are up for grab, particularly on the left wing, which has been the case all season. Let's be honest. Whereas central midfield, they've I think Hogg, O'Brien and Russell is pretty clearly the 3 that he prefers if he's playing a 3, and he'll pick 2 of them if it's a 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I suppose the question is if Ward, like you touched on it there, if Ward's fit, I think he comes straight into the team. If not, and I would maybe try it with Rhodes. The only thing I'm thinking is, obviously we've seen Thomas can be playing like off the striker, or maybe using the second striker sometime. I wonder if maybe Sinani with Rhodes, if Ward's not fit, just because he can. Sinani, I know he's a bit marmite, isn't he? I know Dave can't make his mind up about him. He said on here, and I think he said on yours, but
he either the thing I've come to with Sinani when I've been trying to work him out was he either does something in the first 15 minutes or he'll do nothing. Like that's when you look at the times of his goals and his assists, they're nearly all in the first 15 minutes. So yeah, I think it was Rhodes and Sinani played as a 2 for most of the game against Forest just after Christmas, because Ward went off very early, didn't he? So it ended up with Rhodes and Sinani playing as a front 2 there, and that worked all right. So yeah.
Well, interesting. I mean, let's be honest, with Collis's lineup, it could be anything, and you just can't go fair enough. We'll see. But anyway, how do we see this one going, Tom? Can you see anything other than a Town win, or are we being too arrogant now?
Might be a little bit too arrogant, Brady, but no, to be honest, a 2-0 Town. 2-0 Town? Yeah.
2-0 Town. Comfortable.
Reasonably. Yeah.
Routine.
Reasonably. Yeah, routine win. Yeah. Let's like Steve said, O'Brien will score, and then Jordan Rhodes 2-2. Yeah.
Nice. Steve, going for any more goals, or Town win, or going for something else interesting?
I'm on the fence here, because I think it's either going to be really tight and really frustrating for the whole 90 minutes, and it's going to finish like 1-1 or 1-0, or Town get 2 early goals like they did against Peterborough, and then Barnsley basically know they're dead and buried, and it ends up being several. So one of the 2. But I think more likely the tight one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too, because there's a lot. Reading basically have to pick up. Have to lose every game for Barnsley to have a slim chance. Yeah. They're not going to win 4 games in a row. I mean, they could. It's a championship, you never know. But I think classic first goal wins this. I think. I think I had put down 2-0 win, Tom, as well for Town. I think it'll be 1-0 for ages, and Barnsley will have a couple of chances, but their finishing is poor. And then I think we'll probably get like the last 10 minutes, the second, just to, a bit more difficult than it maybe should have been, is how I see this one going.
Do you want me to commit to a score?
Yes, I do, Steve, because we can do the clip as well, like you did for Peterborough, if you get it right or wrong.
It's true. That's very true. That's an excellent point. 1-0 Town. 1-0.
Okay. 1-0.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we've made all our predictions. Tom, I think we did pretty well there to not get too hot-headed. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it was a very balanced review, that.
Yeah, good. Stevens, stop with these hot comments, because it's time for hot takes.
Big bleak hot, mate. Big bleak hot, mate.
Yeah, it's hot takes, the part where you share your spicy opinions you have about Huddersfield Town, read reason why, and we'll debate it on the pod. Hot takes will be anonymous. Don't forget to email brady@takesthatchance.com for a chance to be featured. We want some more hot takes. I know Town are doing well, but we like to cause chaos on this podcast, so get them sent in.
Even if you don't believe them, just
yeah, exactly.
Come up with any old rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. We'll entertain it. That's what this podcast is. Any old rubbish, and we'll entertain it. There's the strap line. Right, Tom. Steve enjoyed that too much. All right, mate. You know, we're accompanying pods, not rival podcasts. Anyway, Tom, are you ready for this one? Because they're having a go at me and you in this one.
Oh, are they? That's
yeah.
exciting then. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. I'm going to read it word for word, because I think we need everything.
Read it in a Bernard Manning voice as well.
I don't think I'll have the energy. Okay, so the hot take starts like this. This is something I feel very strongly about you and your pod, especially Tom, because this has got my shackles up. Your loving over Alan Lee is disturbing. Alan Lee is the worst striker to represent our team in 20 years. 7 goals in 80 games. For a 6'2" striker, he was brilliant at losing headers. He couldn't run. His work rate was shocking. Instead of choosing to stand arms wide open, looking exasperated, he was Premier League standard at this. Everyone remembers the goal against Arsenal. Why do we remember this? Because he's been on such a goal drought. We'd forgotten that he could score. He was even surprised that it went in. He was without a doubt the worst striker to play for Town in 20 years. Even his song was crap. There, I've got it off my chest. Peace out. Tom, you having that?
Fuming, Brady. Absolutely fuming there. Although, whatever, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but that opinion is false. So the song wasn't crap. Come on, like Daddy Cool is one of the catchiest songs ever, and like I just
the chant was Alan Lee to the tune of Daddy Cool.
Yeah, it was just Alan Lee.
that is a bit crap, to be honest.
Whoa, come on! There's been a lot worse.
He loved it though. He loves that song. Yeah, his record's not great, but sometimes being a striker is more than about scoring goals, isn't it? He did look. He was nowhere near the best striker Town have ever had, I don't think the worst, because he got himself about. He bullied people and he held the ball up well. He did miss some sitters though as well, but I just loved him as a man, as a human being, as an innocent man.
A normal man.
It's just a normal man. Would you be fair to say as well, Tom, that we are, I think you can have love for players who are a bit crap. That's certainly how I feel about Alan Lee. You don't have to everyone loves Aaron Moy. That's a bit
Alan
boring.
Moy.
Alan Moy. God, if you combine 2 Town players,
you'd get the most immobile player you've ever seen in your life if you combine Alan Lee and Aaron Moy, wouldn't you?
You can love them, Brady, and I think sometimes enjoying a player is more about just how good they are. I just liked him he was just a laugh on it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got so many good memories of him, which is that also helps.
I think that's something that is one of the things I always thought, because I used to cover sort of Championship, League One and League Two, and I did a bit of all of them, and I always thought League One was like the most fun league to cover, because like you had a little bit of championship quality in there, but also like everyone was just crap enough that the results are always a bit random. But like you also get more Alan Lee type figures, which you don't really get in the championship so much. Like these sort of more cult sort of style players, don't you? They're a bit more relatable.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And Steve, you know, everyone knows you're a Liverpool fan. Like you must have an equivalent of Alan Lee for Liverpool. There were some bad times for Liverpool. Player loved who was a bit crap. David Ngo?
TT Kamara, probably.
TT Kamara, yeah.
Probably before your time. He was one of Houlier's early signings, and he went and played for West Ham, and like he was a bit rubbish, but like all the goals he scored were like, in my head, were all like brilliant lobs. But he was also a very emotional player. He completely wore his heart on his sleeve. Like everyone loved him because he was just like a really lovely, heartfelt guy. I've not gone to, mind you, I've not looked at his Wikipedia recently. So if there is a controversy section on there, then don't hold that against me.
Cut that.
Yeah, exactly. He was later, I've just had a quick look. He was, in 2010, he was made Sports Minister of Guinea. So there you go.
Well, there you go.
But no, I mean, I've looked up the record with Alan Lee and Jordan Rhodes games that they played together. And in games where this isn't with both of them on the pitch, but they scored between them 35 goals in the equivalent of 28 and a half games together, which is pretty decent, to be fair. Yeah. Like, I think, you know, Jordan has always liked playing with a strike partner, and you just need sometimes, like, even if they're doing sort of nothing in terms of goals or assists, just someone to do the donkey work for you and just take the challenges for you and win all the aerial balls for you. You know, is quite valuable for a striker like Jordan Rhodes, who particularly at that stage of his career wasn't doing that kind of thing. So
yeah. I remember when they did Brady, but they did because during all the COVID stuff, they got a few ex-players in, and they actually had Jordan and Alan on at the same time doing one of the live shows. And exactly what Steve just said is what Jordan Rhodes said, is like how much he learned off Alan Lee and how much he helped him develop. And then playing with him, he just did all the work that made Jordan, gave Jordan all the space to score. Oh God, how many goals they score in League One? It's insane, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, my final point on the Alan Lee chat is because when this email came through, I actually had to send this to people to get their opinions on it, because I think it's fair, Tom, we're slightly biased towards Alan Lee. So according to Transfermarkt, we signed him for 330k. So the reason I looked into this was someone was making out that they agree with this. So we signed him 330k. That's 450k with inflation, which is a lot in League One. Works out at 64k per goal, which isn't great. However, the fact that he's one of the worst town strikers, in the last 20 years, I looked at someone else who's much teased, not a striker, but Diakabi. He's worth 9.7 million now for what we signed him for in 2018 with inflation. 4 assists at town. That's it. Works out at 2.4 million per assist. So all I'm saying is you're directing your anger at the wrong person here.
In fact, I've just done the numbers again, and I think it's actually the time they actually spent together on the pitch was the equivalent of just over 21 games. So even if you knock a few of those goals off, that is, you know, those 35 goals off, that is still an incredible record.
There you go. So, you know, this is three disagreements here. So I'm afraid you're wrong. I'm sorry we upset you, but look, if you're going to listen to this podcast, there's going to be a lot of love for Alan Lee. Don't like it, you know, that's a little tough.
Getting an elbow coming your way.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to send Alan Lee around.
No, I think I get why a lot of town fans, he's very mixed in it. I mean, but I think you have got to appreciate he did always play 100% with his heart on his sleeve, and he loved it. every minute of it. He loved it.
This is a classic debate. Like, people always used to, the actual closest equivalent at Liverpool would be Emil Heskey, who played that enabler role for Michael Owen and did it for England for years. And particularly for it, I think Liverpool fans were a bit better with it, but England fans, a lot of them just never understood what Emil Heskey was for. And then obviously Emil Heskey was a much, much more accomplished player than Alan Lee. And when you look at Emil Heskey's goal scoring record when he was at Leicester, he did know how to score, but that wasn't the job he was given late in his career. And I think there's a certain kind of fan who just can't. They had it a bit with Fraser Campbell in a different kind of way, didn't we, a couple of seasons ago? Just can't get their heads around a non-goal scoring forward, which I kind of get, but they're sort of one for the managers, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll leave it there anyway. Otherwise, this is a 2-hour podcast about Alan Lee. And as much as we do love him, I don't think that's fair on the listeners.
No,
but yeah, of course not. Just before Alan Lee takes that chance. Hey, Alan, if you're listening, we'd love to get you on. Tom, it would make Tom's day, even though Tom said Phil Senior was his favourite all-time Town player, just when he was there, because you're a bit of a sucker, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stephen Chicken's my all-time favourite Examiner writer as well.
Oh, thanks. You're my all-time favourite Huddersfield Town fan artist.
What are you, Brady, then? You're my all-time favourite ginger, mate.
Thanks, mate. All-time? Jesus.
I hope Ollie Turton's not listening. Or Lewis O'Brien, for that matter.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I'm better than... Anyway, we'll leave it there. On Lewis O'Brien. Just before we shoot off, we wanted to pass on our well wishes to Huddersfield Town fan Daz, who's battling cancer. You may have seen the tweets. So well wishes from us all. Keep fighting, Daz, and, you stay strong. Thanks to Tom and Steve for coming on. Thanks to everyone for listening. And thanks to Magic Rock for sponsoring. Tom and I will be back to preview the Coventry game. Ta-ta for now and up the town.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.